On to Ukraine now. It seems like Kyiv and Moscow are being nudged to begin a dialogue. Today, the Kremlin made a big statement. Russia doesn't want to change the government in Ukraine. The Kremlin spokesperson was asked about Putin's goals. It was a pointed question. And Dmitry Peskov said that Russia does not intend to change Ukraine's government. Why is this such a big deal? Because when Russia went to war, Putin had painted a target on the back of Zelensky and his aides. He had declared that the Russian forces are fighting Ukraine's government. Listen in.
Once again, I appeal to the servicemen of the armed forces of Ukraine. Do not let neo-Nazis use your children, wives and the elderly as human shields. Take power into your own hands. It seems that it would be easier for us to agree than with this gang of drug addicts and neo-Nazis who settled in Kiev and took the entire Ukrainian people hostage.
Yes, he described Ukraine's leadership as hostage takers. The Russian foreign minister too had toed a similar line. Here's what he said in July. We are determined to help the people of eastern Ukraine to liberate themselves from the burden of this absolutely unacceptable regime. I have one more quote. We will certainly help the Ukrainian people to get rid of the regime which is absolutely anti-people and anti-historical. Putin and Lavrov spoke in clear terms, and now the Kremlin is saying the government in Kyiv is not a target. This is certainly a climb down. Seems like Russia is taking a step back. What about Ukraine? Well, Zelensky is talking peace too. He wants peace on his own terms.
I
called on the alliance to take concrete actions to implement the Ukrainian peace formula that can reliably guarantee peace and justice for Ukraine and the entire Euro-Atlantic community. I also called on all parliaments of NATO member states to finally adopt a decision on the recognition of Russia as a terrorist state. I believe that we will gradually reach this result. This is how Russia will be perceived in the world, exactly as it has become, a terrorist state.
Declare Russia a terrorist state. Zelensky wants to look tough in front of his own citizens and the world. But behind the scenes, he is facing calls to negotiate. Reports say the US is putting pressure on Ukraine. They want the Zelensky government to begin talks, taking steps towards a negotiated settlement. Why does Washington want Kyiv to negotiate? Because the US thinks that Ukraine may not be able to win this war. Listen to what America's top military commander, General Mark Milley, said last week. The probability of a Ukrainian military victory defined as kicking the Russians out of all of Ukraine to include Crimea, the probability of that happening anytime soon is not high militarily. There may be a political solution where politically the Russians withdraw. That's possible. A political solution, that is what America is after, but Kyiv is unlikely to make any concessions. An advisor to Zelensky has called these attempts bizarre.
When you have the initiative on the battlefield, it is slightly bizarre to receive proposals like, you will not be able to do everything by military means anyway. You need to negotiate. Leading the negotiations when you have the initiative means Ukraine must capitulate.
Now that is a direct rebuttal to Mark Milley's statement. The message is clear. Kyiv wants to keep going. Recent events could complicate attempts at a truce further. Meanwhile, a video has emerged from the battleground. This can be disturbing for some viewers. We advise viewer discretion. Take a look.
Давайте, блядь, по одному. Офіцер, хто з вас? Всі вийшли? Виходь давай. Або...
What was happening there? That video is believed to be from the Luhansk region. It has triggered accusations and counter-accusations. Russia says those soldiers were Ukrainian and committed war crimes. Moscow says more than 10 Russian prisoners of war were executed.
Россия будет делать все, что возможно в рамках международных механизмов для того, чтобы обратить внимание на это преступление и призвать к порядку и к закону тех, кто к нему может быть причастен.
So is that really what happened? Kyiv was swift to issue a denial. Ukraine's Commissioner for Human Rights has dismissed the Russian accusations. The United Nations Human Rights Office is looking into that video too. It wants the allegations to be investigated. This, of course, is a developing story, and we will keep tracking the updates. WION World is One is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.